I worked in Africa for 3 years. That's where I saw the difference between what I call good politics, politics in the public interest, and bad politics. Politics that limits people's opportunities, that favors certain interests over others, that limit discussion and debate, and that create the conditions ultimately for short-term thinking and for violence. Violence in homes, violence in communities, inter-tribal violence, all of that and more. Well, strangely, our high standard of living here can lead to exactly the same kind of short-term thinking. Maybe it has something more to do with our human condition than our economic or environmental condition. We become very attracted to the appearance of progress and security, and it revolves around dollars and jobs. We've just heard from Don a very inspiring example of what it means to think beyond dollars and jobs to the spiritual and social well-being of our planet, and how it starts, perhaps ends, with each one of us, and whether or not we're prepared to play a role in this messy business called politics. Many factors block us in our participation. I grew up in a family where conflict wasn't allowed. The most important thing was to be nice. And it was only after my African experience and further experience in Nepal that I realized that politics is about telling the truth, regardless of whether it causes discomfort or not. So that's one barrier. Many of us can't stand conflict. Another is that we don't measure what we need to measure. And it's wonderful to see some of the results of your conference today and discussions about what we mean by natural capital, how we measure ecological goods and services, what a cumulative impact assessment adds to our ability to make better decisions about thresholds in environments. The final barrier is that we need energy. We need all kinds of energy to run our systems and our technology. And so far, our main focus has been energy that happens to pollute and to adversely affect health. Well, despite these challenges, we understand the meaning of stewardship. And the only question is whether we're going to translate the understanding into action. And when I speak at the medical school, I challenge everyone there, especially the doctors, because that's the ones I mostly speak to the notion that it's not enough to bring us good science. It's not enough to tell us how to diagnose and treat a condition. You are responsible for the political implications of what you're telling us. You are responsible for advocating for these issues for better health. Advocating in the medical school that it be taught, advocating at the political level, whether it's a municipal, a provincial, or a federal issue. And surely you're responsible for holding accountable the decision makers, the rule makers, mostly middle-aged men, I have to say. It's time for women to step up in the political sphere. We need you. We will not have healthy debates. We will not have balanced discussions. We will not find win-win situations if we continue with a hugely male-dominated legislature, which is what we have provincially and federally. That's part of the problem. Their ideas, their energy, their vision, their commitment needs to be reflected in politics. So despite the challenges, we know what stewardship means, and we're prepared, I think, especially now with the knowledge that we have and the evidence from books such as A Short History of Progress, Ronald Wright. Wonderful, challenging reiteration of the rise and fall of 4 major civilizations in our history that teach us again and again our unwillingness to live within limits. And, I would say, our unwillingness or inability, in some cases, to take on the political establishment and say, this is not good enough. We demand better. We demand that you bring the best of science and the richest of our values, including future generations, to the table and create policy that serves us all for the long term. That is the challenge we face. I want to just make one other comment, and that has to do with my vision for Alberta, which is fundamentally healthy communities. If we as government people, if you as professionals are not contributing to healthy communities, whatever else we are doing, we are not going to get out of this mess. And mess is the way we should be describing it. Economically, socially, environmentally, we have come to the tipping point on the planet, where either we embrace our responsibility as citizens, as well as parents and scientists. Until we embrace that full scope of responsibility, we're not going to adequately deal with the need to be all involved with creating healthy communities, where three things are necessary: caring, courage, and community. Caring for ourselves, fundamentally, and being able to take care of ourselves so that we can be there, present to others, speaking our mind, taking action on what we believe, thinking independently of how the powers that be and the mainstream media might want us to think. Courage to indeed speak up and challenge authority, challenge those with vested interests and short-term timelines, as most political parties have. Hold us accountable for short-term thinking and the lack of courageous policy that's going to take us into the future. And the final C, after courage, caring, is community. I mentioned it already. How are we contributing to better relations in the communities, to encouraging people, especially the disadvantaged, to find their voices, identify what's working and what's not working, and be part of the solutions in their community? We cannot depend on government and public services to solve problems. Churches and charitable groups have taken up a big part of the role in our society, but we as citizens have a critical role in our communities to contribute to that. So politics is not rocket science. We politicians respond like blue-green algae to light and heat. You turn on the light, tell us the truth, tell us the facts, give us the science, but that's not all you're responsible for. You also have to turn up the heat. If we politicians are not prepared to act on that information, to bring in good public values and create public policy that is better than sausage, we don't deserve to be there. And it's up to you to make sure that we're not there next time, that we're held accountable for the information and the values that you stand for here in this conference and in your personal lives. So it's pretty basic: caring, courage, community. And finally, speaking to politicians in a way that lets them know that you're not someone to be brushed aside. You're not intimidated by authority. You're not cowed by position. We need you to create better public policy for the future. A commitment to good politics must be part of our daily bread. It must become a way of life for all of us, especially those of us privileged to be well-educated, committed to the scientific approach to a better future. That's politics at its best. Politics of hope, ultimately. And I think we suffer from another allergy in this province. And that's a sense of despair, if I can call it an allergy. The antidote to despair is caring, courage, and community. We need all of those to challenge what has happened to our political system, undermined our commitment, and cowed us into relative silence in the face of incompetence and, in some cases, corruption. We need to develop and nurture a culture that recognizes limits, celebrates personal and collective discipline in financial, social, and environmental aspects. Politics is life. I'm going to write a book one day. Life is political. Get over it. It took me 40 years to get over it. From my beginnings in a traditional family home where children were seen and not heard, and where conflict was not acceptable. And if you are part of that culture, it's time for us to take back our humanity, time for us to take back our future,